The room is quiet, but something has changed. A man walks through the front door after another ordinary day. Nothing is wrong on the surface. Dinner is ready. Bills are paid. Responsibilities are handled. Yet when he looks into his wife's eyes, he notices something that wasn't there years ago. She still cares. She still respects him as the father of her children, perhaps even as a good man. But admiration, the quiet spark that once made her look at him with genuine fascination, has faded. It rarely disappears overnight. More often, it slips away so gradually that neither person can point to the exact moment it happened. The difficult truth is that admiration isn't guaranteed by marriage. It's sustained by patterns of behavior, emotional presence, and the way two people continue to experience each other over time. There are 4 quiet reasons why some wives slowly stop admiring their husbands. None of them are obvious, and understanding them reveals something far deeper than relationship advice. It reveals how human beings assign value, meaning, and emotional attraction inside long-term partnerships. One of psychology's oldest observations is that human attention naturally adapts to what becomes predictable. Researchers call this hedonic adaptation, the tendency for people to become accustomed to experiences that once felt exciting. Marriage is not immune to this effect. Many men believe stability alone should preserve admiration. They work hard, remain loyal, avoid unnecessary conflict, and provide consistency. These qualities are undeniably important. But consistency without continued personal growth often becomes invisible. Admiration is closely tied to discovery. In the early years of a relationship, a woman constantly learns new things about the man beside her. His ambitions evolve. His ideas surprise her. His confidence expands through new challenges. She feels she's walking beside someone who is still becoming. Years later, if every conversation sounds familiar, every goal has already been achieved, or quietly abandoned, and every day follows the same emotional script, curiosity begins to disappear. This isn't because she wants constant excitement. It's because the human mind is naturally drawn toward people who continue developing. A man doesn't lose admiration simply because he grows older. He begins losing it when he stops giving the people closest to him reasons to discover new dimensions of who he is. But personal growth is only one piece of the puzzle. Something even more subtle often changes the emotional balance of a marriage. And that's where the story becomes far more revealing. Many men assume admiration is earned primarily through competence. They become dependable providers, capable problem solvers, and the person everyone turns to when something needs fixing. Those qualities matter. Decades of relationship research consistently show that reliability and responsibility contribute to long-term stability. But stability and admiration are not identical experiences. What often fades is not appreciation, but emotional visibility. Over time, some husbands begin interacting with life as if every conversation has a purpose to solve. When their wife shares frustration, they offer solutions. When she expresses uncertainty, they search for answers. Gradually, the relationship starts to resemble a well-managed project, rather than a place where two people continue discovering each other's inner world. Psychologist John Gottman's work has long suggested that successful marriages are built not only on resolving conflict, but on responding to what he calls bids for connection, the small, everyday moments when one partner reaches for the other's attention, curiosity, or emotional presence. Those moments are easy to overlook. A casual story at dinner, an observation during a walk, a passing comment that isn't really about the words being spoken, but about asking, "Are you still interested in who I am?" When those bids are repeatedly met with distraction, routine, or practical advice, instead of genuine curiosity, something subtle begins to shift. Admiration thrives when a person feels emotionally seen. Without that feeling, even a highly competent husband can slowly become predictable, not because he lacks value, but because his strengths are experienced only through responsibility, not through emotional presence. And this changes something fundamental. A marriage can continue functioning remarkably well while quietly losing the sense of wonder that once held it together. But there's another reason admiration fades, one that has less to do with how a man relates to his wife and more to do with how he relates to himself. One of the least discussed truths about admiration is this: people often struggle to admire someone who has stopped admiring himself. This isn't about arrogance, status, or projecting confidence. In fact, those qualities can easily become performances. Genuine self-respect is quieter. It shows up in the standards a man refuses to lower, the promises he keeps to himself, and the way he continues to grow even when no one is watching. Anthropologists have long observed that, across cultures, social respect is strongly tied to perceived competence and integrity. But inside a marriage, those qualities are measured less by public success than by private consistency. A husband may speak passionately about getting healthier, yet never begin. He may dream about starting a business, learning a skill, or pursuing a meaningful goal, but postpone it year after year. Eventually, the issue is no longer the unfinished project. It's the pattern. His wife doesn't simply see a delayed ambition. She begins to witness a man negotiating with his own convictions. Each compromise seems insignificant on its own, a promise postponed, a challenge avoided, a difficult conversation delayed. But over time, these moments accumulate into a silent narrative, the gap between who he says he wants to become and who he consistently chooses to be. Behavioral psychologists often note that identity is reinforced through repeated actions, not isolated intentions. The same is true in relationships. Admiration grows from what is consistently demonstrated, not from what is occasionally declared. Ironically, many men try to regain admiration by seeking more validation from their wives. Yet admiration rarely grows from being requested. It grows from witnessing authentic character over time. And that's why the final reason is perhaps the most surprising of all. It has nothing to do with achievement, confidence, or communication. It comes from a subtle shift in the balance between familiarity and mystery, a shift that many couples never notice until it's already changed the relationship. One of the greatest misconceptions about long-term love is that intimacy means knowing everything about each other. In reality, healthy intimacy leaves room for discovery. Researchers who study long-lasting relationships, including psychologist Esther Perel, have observed that desire often depends on a delicate balance between closeness and individuality. The safest relationships are not necessarily the ones where partners become identical. They're the ones where each person remains a complete individual while choosing to share life with the other. Early in a relationship, a husband is more than a partner. He's an unfolding story. His opinions are still being uncovered. His ambitions are taking shape. His reactions remain unpredictable enough to spark curiosity. Years later, some couples unknowingly replace that unfolding story with complete routine. Every evening follows the same pattern. Every opinion is already known. Every weekend looks like the last one. Nothing feels hidden, not because secrets exist, but because nothing new is emerging. The human brain is remarkably sensitive to novelty. Neuroscience has shown that new experiences activate attention and strengthen memory. That's why the moments people remember most vividly are often those that break familiar patterns. The same principle quietly influences admiration. When someone's life continues expanding, they remain psychologically engaging. This doesn't require dramatic reinvention. Sometimes, it's as simple as developing a new passion, mastering a difficult skill, forming meaningful friendships, traveling somewhere unfamiliar, or embracing a challenge that changes the way you see yourself. These experiences don't just add stories to tell, they reshape the person telling them. The deepest form of admiration isn't built on perfection, it's built on witnessing continuous evolution. A wife is far more likely to admire the man who is still becoming than the man who believes he has already arrived. And that realization transforms the entire question. The goal was never to impress the person beside you. It was to remain someone whose life continues unfolding, with or without an audience. Perhaps the real question was never, why do some wives stop admiring their husbands? A more revealing question is, what keeps admiration alive after the excitement of the early years has passed? The answer isn't found in grand romantic gestures or constant attempts to earn approval. It's found in a life that continues to move forward. A man who keeps learning, keeps challenging himself, stays emotionally present, and lives according to his own values remains someone worth discovering, even after decades together. In the end, admiration is less about being impressive and more about being authentic. It's the quiet respect that grows when words and actions consistently align, when curiosity never fully disappears, and when two people continue evolving instead of simply growing older. The strongest marriages aren't built by people who stop changing. They're built by two individuals who never stop becoming. If this perspective gave you a new way to understand long-term relationships, consider subscribing and sharing the video with someone who values thoughtful conversations. And if there's one insight that stayed with you, let us know in the comments. Sometimes the most meaningful discussions begin long after the video ends.